Trump's Nick Fuentes problem is getting worse. You know what? I like this type of shit. Let's get into it. Hit that sub button, man.
You're seeing this MAGA civil war getting worse and worse, messier by the day, with more big names jumping in to fight. And while some on the right, they've tried to dismiss this as some sort of sideshow, this is so much bigger and more important than they'll admit. And I mean, there is a very real fight over the future of MAGA and the right in general taking place. Right? They can try and act like this is some small little blip, the loud minority, but the numbers show that's a lie. And while this has been brewing for a while, and you can go back to my Monday and Tuesday shows for a deeper recap, the quick version is that recently things kicked off because Tucker Carlson interviewed white nationalist Nick Fuentes on his show last week. And among a decent chunk of the right, that sparked some backlash because Tucker is seen, even though he's not with Fox News anymore, as kind of this institution. He has a huge platform. In the interview, it was friendly.
The boy trying to stay relevant. He know what he's doing, goddammit. That boy trying to hitch his trailer to something that's moving with momentum. That's what it is, man. He know that this dude is a rising star amongst a lot of these young boys under the age of, I don't know, 30 probably, and he don't give a damn. And people are liking the fact that he's talking his shit, man. People like Nick Fuentes, bro, that uncut, unadulterated racism. They love that shit. It's giving them the courage to really aspire to be the racist that they actually could be, the best racist they could be, all that they could be under him.
And Fuentes, among other things, talked at length about what he called organized Jewry. And so a whole bunch of conservatives, most prominently Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and Ted Cruz, condemned Tucker and Fuentes. But then you had a lot on the right coming to their defense, or at the very least, Tucker's defense, arguing that he was merely exercising his free speech and shouldn't be canceled. And well, now the latest high-profile pundit to make that argument is Brett Cooper. And very notably, Brett is a former Daily Wire host who was once dubbed the female Ben Shapiro before she left and started her own show.
They're doing all of this. They're freaking out because of how popular and impactful Tucker is. Tucker, right now, is the #1 podcaster in the world. He is neck and neck with Joe Rogan as they ignore the obvious shit.
Bro, act like if you don't get his girl the haircut that Ben Shapiro has, that she wouldn't look like his son.
Shift in ideology and attitudes of their base, because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing. So again, it makes sense.
Right over the course of her show, she took shots at several people, including Mark Levin.
Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. Also, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham.
But if you ever run for office as a Republican, and you embrace this weird shit, we're gonna beat your brains out.
As well as Republican Representative Randy Fine.
Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth.
And you had Cooper going after all of them for pretty much the same reason. Hypocrisy.
This is just so incredibly hypocritical. Like, haven't we all collectively sat on our shows, sat on X, and talked about how dangerous it is and how irresponsible it was for leftists to just call anybody they hate a Nazi? It is the same kind of inflammatory rhetoric that killed Charlie Kirk.
Nah, that nigga Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. What are you talking about? That man admires Hitler. What are you talking about?
And then with all this, a comment that you made that probably got some of the most attention was a comment about Randy Fine, who's Jewish.
I mean, he obviously, I'm sorry to say, but he obviously cares more about Israel than he does, principles like free speech. So, buddy, like, my advice to you, Randy Fine, is just move to Israel at this point.
Right, and that seeming to echo something that Fuentes said to Carlson last week.
If you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel.
Right, it also appeared that Fuentes himself took her comments the same way because he posted on X. Daily Wire alum Brett Cooper says Randy Fine should move back to Israel because he cares more about Israel than free speech. You're never going back to the way things used to be. Enough is enough. America first. But then we also heard a much different take on the fighting from Daily Wire host Matt Walsh, who blamed the Republicans' embarrassing defeat on Tuesday's elections on exactly this kind of infighting.
We've watched the right-wing commentariat rip each other to shreds over offensive group chats and podcast guests and so on. Right now, a lot of people are kind of drawing lines on the right. But here's the line that we really need. Conservatives who have actually shown an ability to win and move the needle culturally and politically on one side versus conservatives who have never contributed meaningfully to any victory at all. And after last night's elections, it's clear that we should just not listen to those people ever again. In my view, The right must unite against the people who want us dead.
Though then you had Fuentes responding to him saying, your fence sitting has grown tiresome, with him then going on to post about what he called lunatic Israel first Jews and ethno-narcissistic bullies. Right? Despite calls for Walsh and a few others for unity, that really doesn't seem to be what's happening. At least not at the Heritage Foundation, right? Because one of the biggest things that catalyzed this civil war was a video statement that its president Kevin Roberts put out last week.
We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson.
Right, and that, it shocked a number on the right to see the head of mainstream American conservatism's most prestigious think tank throwing its support behind Carlson here. And then actually on Monday night, Roberts partly apologized during a speech at Hillsdale College.
A few days ago, I posted a video truly with the best of intentions. But I have to tell you, to the students, that this old history professor made a mistake. And my mistake was not saying we aren't going to participate in cancel culture. We're not. My mistake was letting that, which we will never backtrack from, override the central motivation that I had in doing that. There's one of those ideas that really worries me. It's an idea that has become cachet, not just on the left, but on the far fringes of the right. And that's anti-Semitism.
But then Roberts also apologizing again personally to his own staff.
Well, I wish black people could get some anti-blacknism action in this damn world, bro. You can say all kind of shit about us, man. Nobody get no damn about us, bro. I swear, not nobody with no real power. Shit, you call us all kind of N-words, food stamp recipients, welfare queens. God damn. Boy, hey, listen, them people they got motion, bro.
Staff yesterday reportedly saying, I made a mistake and I let you down and I let down this institution, period, full stop. And then adding that he was willing to resign, but saying that he felt a moral obligation to clean up the mess he created himself. Though none of that appears to have been enough to prevent this rift from tearing part of the organization apart. Right? Because you have the Washington Post reporting that at least 5 members of its anti-Semitism task force have now resigned in protest. Distinguished fellow Chris DeMuth has left. And there was another fellow, Amy Swearer, who reportedly told Roberts to his face that his handling of the controversy was, quote, a masterclass in cowardice that ran cover for the most unhinged dregs of the far right. But this also is others at Heritage felt differently, with one person, for example, at the meeting reportedly asking what would happen to those who agreed with Roberts and Carlson, and another comparing staffers who spoke with reporters to Judas. Even Roberts' own speechwriter, Evan Myers, reportedly suggested that Heritage's attempts to address accusations of anti-Semitism would eventually mean he'd be required to attend Shabbat dinner, which he said would conflict with his faith. To which another executive reportedly shot back, I'm deeply sorry that you cannot see that as a generous offer, but rather a personal attack on you. So clearly there's a lot happening, and we're gonna have to see what happens with Roberts' leadership there. But also, amidst the fighting, we got to hear from Carlson himself, because he went on Dave Smith's show and explained that he initially had reservations about bringing Fuentes on.
For one, Nick had attacked my family, my father, my wife, one of my children by name. For another, as I've said a million times, I thought he was a Fed. I did suspect that. I don't know if that's true or not. I raised that with him. But basically, in the end, I decided Nick Fuentes can't be canceled. They've been trying since he was a freshman in college. It doesn't work. In fact, he's gotten bigger. He is enormously talented. Anyone who denies that is lying. And he has like a not fully coherent, but a semi-coherent kind of position. And I would like to hear what it is.
Nah, you know what it is? Nick Fuentes hit your ass with that state property shit, nigga. You get down or you lay down, nigga. That's what that is. Shit.
Because that's kind of my job. And I'm also interested because he's the most influential voice for men under 30 in the United States.
What men, boy? What? You got to be specific when you say men, because he ain't influential for shit under 30 over here. Just say, call a spade, goddammit. Stop all that pussyfooting around. Say he the most influential for far-right white dudes who ain't getting no coochie in this country. Say that.
United States.
But then with all that, you have people like Ben Shapiro, the National Review, and the Wall Street Journal countering that Tucker's defense that he's just an innocent journalist doing his job and hearing people out, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. With them arguing that he barely challenged Fuentes at all, he never brought up his worst comments and just let him say things like,
We do, on some level, need to be pro-white.
without any objection whatsoever. And that is...
And you know what he gonna do your ass? Once he gets all of the fame and the buzz off of your audience, he gonna discard you when he don't need you no more, bro. That boy Nick cold-blooded with this shit. When he don't need your ass, once you worn out all of your usefulness, dog, he gonna cut you, man. He gonna cut you out like a bad cancer, like a tumor or some shit. That's what he gonna do.
It's very clear that Tucker is more willing to grill the absolute fuck out of a guest if he wants to, like he did with Ted Cruz.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who don't know anything about the country.
So from that, you had the National Review concluding, why would Carlson choose to take an oppositional tack to a senator who has been fighting for conservatism for decades, but not to a podcaster who praises Stalin? The obvious answer is that Fuentes is an avowed Jew hater, while Cruz is a staunch supporter of Israel. Right? And then with everything that's happening, you did have Carlson kind of saying that it all appears to be about Israel and the future of the GOP.
This is a fight over what happens after Donald Trump. What does the Republican Party look like? What happens after Trump goes? And that's what this is about. That's why they're vesting the energy in this. That's what the rage is about, because they don't want to lose control of foreign policy. I just can't say that enough. It's about foreign policy. They don't care about domestic policy because they don't care about the United States.
Right, but also with that, you have people who argue that the Civil War, it's at least as much about anti-Semitism as it is about Israel. For example, Jamie Kirchick saying in the Washington Post, this episode has forced an overdue reckoning on the American right. For far too long, the problem of anti-Semitism has been allowed to fester there because too many conservatives have been reluctant to speak out against its chief propagator. Finally, its battle lines are being drawn. But ultimately, that's where we are for now, though we're going to see more, right? There appears to be no shortage of creators out there, and even politicians throwing haymakers. As while we wait to see what happens next, I'd really love to know your thoughts, opinions, and reactions here. But then next up, in a different kind of news today, we need to talk about this just crazy Shein sex doll controversy. Because France just announced that they're moving to suspend Shein because they discovered that they were selling incredibly childlike sex dolls. Also understand, when I say childlike, this is the doll in question. It straight up looks like a little girl holding a teddy bear. I know I probably shouldn't say this, but whoever came up with this idea or made this, can we set them on fire? To the moderators, that's just a hypothetical question, not a call to violence. But connected to that hypothetical question, you had the Telegraph describing a doll as having an erotic body and having realistic genitalia. And so the outrage has been massive across the board. You had France's Consumer Affairs and Fraud Control Agency saying that the product leaves little doubt as to the nature of this content. And you had France's finance minister adding, if this behavior is repeated, we will be...
Bruh, that was a... Man. I know who buying them dolls.
Within our rights to request that Shein's platform be banned from the French market. Now, Shein defended themselves, saying the listing came from a third-party seller and that they're reviewing how they were able to circumvent the screening process. Or with the company also removing the listing and banning the sale of sex dolls, saying the fight against child exploitation is non-negotiable for Shein, and adding, I take this personally. We are tracing the source and will take swift, decisive action against those responsible. But then the whole situation got bigger because you had French reports saying that Shein was also selling weapons like machetes and brass knuckles on its site. And so you saw France deciding to launch proceedings to suspend the website. It was unclear exactly how the suspension will work or when it'll go into effect because according to reports, Shein's website was still available in France on Thursday, but it just had no third-party products. But business ministers did visit Paris's major airport and blocked 200,000 parcels to be examined by a consumer watchdog. And as far as how long this will last, you had officials saying as long as necessary for the platform to demonstrate to the authorities that all its content is finally in compliance with our laws and regulations. But also, that's not where this ends, because this morning you had the country urging the EU to also step in, urging the European Commission to promptly conduct investigations into the cell that said it was false. And that thing real. Squarespace. And it just for a project and mission, and it left everyone crying, terrified, errands and emergency lights, but the
Yep, guys, so that's what it was, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please hit that sub button if you like what I was putting down. I'm gonna see y'all on the next one.